Alright, welcome back guys, and welcome if this is your first time here. I'm Vision here with Blind Entertainment, bringing you guys another video. Today I'm going to be giving you guys my top 10 worst Walking Dead videos ranked. Now, if The Walking Dead is something you're interested in, don't forget to subscribe down below and hit that bell icon. That way you don't miss any more Walking Dead content from me in the future. Now let's begin. Alright, coming in 10th place would have to be Season 5, Episode 4, Slab Town. Now, this is a tough episode for me to put here, because it really was it was necessary for the story, but it just didn't gel right. Just to have an episode about Beth just doesn't make any sense to me. Beth was a B-level character at best, and they made her an A-level character in Season 5 just to kill her off, which never made sense to me. This episode was somewhat boring. I did, at the beginning, hop on the big Beth is a great character bandwagon. However, in retrospect, she was just character. She wasn't as big as I think a lot of people made her out to be, and I've kind of fell into that trap at the time. And I feel like what they did wasn't as was needed at the time. They could have done a little bit more polishing up and reintroduced her in a better way and killed her off in a better way. I feel like they needed to get rid of her at the last minute, and they came up with this at the last minute and just kind of said, okay, let's just do it, and hoped it sticked. Some stuff worked, some didn't. Especially since these characters just disappeared. It just, I don't know, it didn't make any sense to me, and it just felt like a waste of time. Coming in at 9th place would have to be Season 2, Episode Secrets. Now, this is an episode where I easily think that if you just skip this episode, you don't miss much. Because it's just dealing with the aftermath of Glenn finding about the walkers, him going on a supply run for Rory for the pregnancy test, and then her finding out that she's pregnant. And then you got the whole Shane and Otis stuff. I really feel like not much happened here. They could have, I don't know, they could have easily chalked this up and blended it with some other episodes and make it feel less boring. And for that reason, it's on my worst episodes list. I feel like, in my opinion, what else is, like, if you skip this episode and then watch the next episode and watch the previously part, you could easily have just not watched this episode. It would have been easy, and it's probably a very easily forgettable episode. I don't know. Leave your thoughts and opinions if you of this episode in the comment section down below. How do you feel? I feel like it had potential, but it just ended up not doing much and didn't progress the story at a time when it probably should have. Coming in at 8th place would have to be Season 4, Episode 9, After. Now, this one really hurt, I feel like, the show in a bit, and it really hurt my liking for the show, because you come off the heels of Too Far Gone, this mid-season finale, and you come back to After, where it's just them, Carl and Michonne and Rick wandering around. I feel like this has the most iconic scene of Carl with the pudding. Not much else going on there. It's just, I don't know. Yes, there was some good character development between Carl and stuff, which is why it's higher up on my list. But still, it's another one of those episodes where it's like, okay, you can miss it, and you wouldn't miss much of what happened story-wise. I mean, like, you come off the heels of, like, one of the greatest episodes, in my opinion, Too Far Gone, which had some great action, some great character development, and some great stuff. And you come back to this episode, and it's like, so what? And for me, I got into it right at this point in the show, and it kind of made me not enjoy the show at the moment as much as I thought I was going to. And I feel like this episode hurt the show in a way. Yes, we need to slow down sometimes, but I feel like right off the heels of one of the best episodes is the wrong time to do that. And for that reason, yes, it has some good character development, but for just the plain reasons where it could be easily skipped is why it's here. Coming in at 7th place would have to be Season 3 episode Arrows on the Doorpost. Now, if you saw my ranking of all 8 seasons, you'll know that Season 3 was my worst season, and honestly, I could probably make an entire list of worst episodes out of Season 3. However, I put this one here. Honestly, I feel like not much happened. You have the governor and Rick coming and sitting and having a negotiation, and as much as I think that could work in some context, I feel like it was just a waste of time. I know there's a lot of people out there who don't read the comics and whatnot, but for any comic readers, everybody knew that this was not going to work. It was just like a waste of time, in my opinion. They could have done something differently, tell the story in a different way. It just didn't feel right. Especially for comic readers, it just didn't make any sense. Because, like, we know this is going to go nowhere. It's a waste of time and pretty much a waste of episodes since we know the outcome in the end. So it feels like, why did this episode need to take place if we know the outcome at the end? Like, it had some interesting stuff, but in the end, the execution didn't end well, in my opinion. Coming in at sixth place would have to be season 8, episode 7, Time for After. Now, if you look at this episode, it's just Rick at the junkyard with the scavengers and Daryl and crew doing dumb stuff. And if I'm being honest, like, we could have done something completely different. Rick didn't have to go back to the scavengers. They should have been secondary antagonists. There was no need for that storyline other than just to get Jadis to join them, which didn't necessarily need to happen. And then there's Daryl. I'm glad that they did something with Daryl, but it was dumb. Sorry if you like that, but it was dumb for Daryl to do that. And for that reason, as much as, yes, the storyline did have some interesting stuff and necessary things, they could have gone about it a different way and not wasted time and just done something completely different. And for that reason, this is on my worst episodes of the series list. And at fifth place would have to be season 1, episode 6, TS19. Now, I know there's a lot of fans out there who absolutely love this episode, but I absolutely hate it. Now, first off, Robert Kirkman himself has come out and said he doesn't like this episode and it never existed. And that's mainly because in the comics, he wanted the outbreak to be like a secret and not to delve too much into what caused the outbreak. But this episode goes too far into that. We have the whole France information and him having recorded how long it took his wife to turn. All that stuff delves too close into revealing what caused the outbreak. And even causes issues in the fact that we can never have a spin-off in France because it'll poke holes into Jenner's story. I know fans will say there's loopholes out of that, but still, it just discounts everything Jenner said. I know there's some stuff with Troy and Spear, but this isn't me talking about Fear, which I hated Troy's stuff too. But I think this was just delving too close into that, and for that reason I hate it. Andrea wanting to commit suicide was ridiculous and out of the blue, and it just came off as her being a bitch to Dale, and I just hated everything about it. I think it was Frank Darabont wanting to go out on have a big, huge finale, and it just came off as unnecessary and dumb, wasteful, and idiotic information that needed to be revealed. And for that reason, this is on my worst episodes of this series list. And then at fourth place would have to be season 6, episode The Same Boat. Now, after a high of the previous episode of them attacking the satellite outpost, we take a pit stop for this character development episode of Maggie and Carol. Now, granted, like I always say, character development is necessary in some points, but not when we're right off of a high like the previous episode. Yes, some character development in this episode was good between Maggie and Carol, but it hurt also in some other areas. And I feel like if you miss this episode, you're not missing much, in my opinion. And when that happens, that you get a bad episode. It was okay, but it borderlines on just being pointless and unnecessary. And for that reason, I gotta put this episode on one of my worst episodes of this series. Coming in at third place would have to be season 3, episode Prey. Now, this is another one where I feel like if you skip it, you don't miss much, because it's all a bunch of BS stuff with Andrea trying to escape the governor, and spoiler alert, she doesn't. The governor captures her after, it's all her running through the woods pretty much, and the governor chasing her, which is good, but it's just boring. They could have easily accomplished this in half of an episode. Didn't need to be an entire episode. On top of that, you got Tyrese having a fallout with a member from his group. Nothing else really happens. It's like they needed to pit stop here again to just give us some dumb character development, which I'm assuming a lot of you, like me, weren't big fans of Andrea. And it just annoyed me that we had to take this pit stop right after having some good some somewhat good episodes. And it just halted the season, and it just made no sense. It should have been ended with Andrea reaching Rick. It shouldn't have been the governor capturing Andrea. It just was a dumb, pointless episode. Like, if I want to see Andrea run for the woods with the governor chasing her, I could have done that in 10 minutes. We don't need an entire episode dedicated to that. And Tyrese in the Fallout was dumb since the guy died in like what I think it was the next episode. It doesn't make any sense, and it just was pointless. And for that reason, Prey made it onto my worst episode of the series list. In at second place would have to be season 7, episode 6, Swear. Now, if you go out and ask people, and I'm honestly saying this because I've talked to other people on other like YouTube videos and whatnot, that people really hate this episode, and I gotta agree. We haven't seen Tara for almost 8 episodes for like half a season, and we come back and we get her in this one episode where it's just her. And it's like Oceanside Hill don't even play a big role later on in the season. Tara's a B-level character, and we spend a whole episode with her? Like, really? Again, another episode where if you miss it, you don't miss much. Like, the only thing you really miss would be the last 5 minutes of her returning home to Alexandria, and even then, it's like, you wouldn't miss much there either, because it's not much happening. Like, you could have just picked up the next episode and know, oh, she came back, okay. Did we really need an entire episode dedicated to her? If you look online and reviews on other people, it's unanimous that this is one of the worst episodes of the series. And I gotta agree. When you sit around with Tara at Oceanside for an entire episode, it's boring. Tara's a B-level character. I know there are Tara fans out there, but in my opinion, Tara's dead weight. She outlived her usefulness. Sorry to any Tara fans out there, but really, Tara having an entire episode dedicated to her was pointless and a waste of time. We didn't need it, and we should have never gotten it. And it just hurt season 7 more than it should have. And for that reason, Swear is on my worst episodes of the series list. Coming in first place would have to be season 4, episode 14, Still. Now, if you talk to anybody in the Walking Dead fan base, even fans that never say anything bad about The Walking Dead, and there are those fans, and I'm not going to name names on YouTube or anybody out there, but there are fans that will never say anything bad. But even I've talked to fans that say nothing bad, have agreed that this is a bad episode. This is a horrible episode. If you look at it, it's just Beth sitting in the woods crying. They walk around, find booze, and eat a snake. That's all the highlights you need to know out of this episode. Yes, there are some good character development, but nothing good comes out of this character development. Character development is needed, but not at this level. We don't need an episode like this, and if they ever do anything like this again, my God, it'll be the death of The Walking Dead, in my opinion. Still to this day, I think, is the worst episode of The Walking Dead. It doesn't have any replay value, because there's nothing that happens. This is the epitome of an episode that you could miss it and literally miss nothing. In the other episodes, yes, you might miss one or two things here that are important, but this, you miss nothing. You miss absolutely nothing from this episode. You could miss it and just say, oh, they're still out there, okay. There's nothing that happens in here that's important or necessary to know moving forward after this episode. No big character development, nothing. It's just them sitting around, drinking beer, eating a snake, and Beth crying. Other than that, it's nothing. And for that reason, this is my 100% worst episode of this Walking Dead series. So yeah, guys, those are my top 10 worst The Walking Dead episodes from the entire series so far. Again, just remember these are my opinions, so please don't get mad at me if I put your favorite on this list. These are just my opinions, but I would like to have a nice, calm, nice discussion with you guys. Give me your top 10 worst episodes of The Walking Dead, and let's have a good discussion about it in the comment section down below. And if you have any future video topics you'd like for me to cover, let me know in the comment section down below as well. And don't forget, if you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and share. Don't forget to subscribe down below and hit the bell icon. That way you don't miss any more future Walking Dead content from me in the future. This has been Vision here with Blind Entertainment, and I'll see you next time.